Animals have always been some of the best sources of strange but true facts. The natural world is filled with adaptations so unusual that they sound made up, yet they are entirely real. These creatures remind us that evolution is endlessly inventive, producing traits that are as weird as they are wonderful. Take the axolotl, for example, often called the Mexican walking fish, though it is actually an amphibian. Unlike most amphibian, axolotls never complete their metamorphosis. They keep their external gills and remain in a juvenile state for their entire lives. Even stranger, they have the ability to regenerate lost body parts. If an axolotl loses a limb, it can regrow it, complete with bones, muscles, and nerves. Scientists study them in hopes of unlocking the secrets of regeneration in humans. Another creature that bends the rules of biology is the immortal jellyfish. When faced with stress or injury, it can revert its cells to an earlier stage of life, essentially starting over. In theory, this process could allow it to avoid death from old age altogether, making it one of the only creatures known to have such a trait. While they are not truly immortal, since disease or predators can still kill them, the fact that they can reset their life cycle is a fascinating reminder of nature's creativity. The pistol shrimp is another marvel. This tiny creature, only a few centimeters long, has a claw that snaps shut with such speed that it creates a bubble. When that bubble collapses, it produces a shockwave strong enough to stun prey. For a brief moment, the bubble even generates heat close to the temperature of the sun's surface. All of that from a shrimp no bigger than your finger. In the forests of Madagascar lives the Ia lemur with one of the strangest hunting tools in the animal kingdom. It has a long, thin middle finger that it uses to tap on tree bark. By listening to the echoes, the Ia can detect hollow spots where insects might be hiding. Then it gnaws a hole and uses the same finger to hook the insects out, almost like a natural chopstick. Even something as familiar as the platypus shows how wonderfully odd evolution can be, with the bill of a duck, the tail of a beaver, and the feet of an otter. It looks like a creature invented in a storybook. Yet the strangest fact is that male platypuses have venomous spurs on their legs, delivering a painful sting strong enough to incapacitate a dog. And while they are mammals, they lay eggs, blurring the lines we usually draw between categories of life. Then there are tardigrades, also known as water bears. These microscopic animals can survive conditions that would be fatal to almost any other creature: extreme heat, freezing cold, intense radiation, even the vacuum of space. They do this by entering a state called cryptobiosis, curling up into a tiny ball and slowing their metabolism to almost nothing, waiting until conditions improve. These animals, strangely they are, remind us that life is not limited by our expectations. Evolution shapes creatures to fit their environments in ways that may seem bizarre to us, but are perfectly logical in the context of survival. Each adaptation is like a puzzle piece, part of the larger story of life diversity. In the next section, we'll turn our focus inward, looking at some of the strangest facts about humans themselves, the odd quirks of our bodies that make us just as fascinating as the animals we study. It is easy to think of the human body as familiar, ordinary, and well understood. When you look closely, our own biology contains countless strange details, quirks of anatomy and physiology that can be just as surprising as the oddities we see in the animal kingdom. One unusual fact is that humans can have extra ribs. Most people have 24 ribs, 12 on each side, but about 1 in 200 people is born with a cervical rib near the neck. These extra ribs don't always cause problems, but in some cases they can press on nerves or blood vessels, creating a condition known as thoracic outlet syndrome, a small reminder that even within our species, bodies are not all built exactly the same. Our fingerprints are another source of curiosity. We often think of them as completely unique identifiers, and for the most part they are. But identical twins who share the same DNA also develop fingerprints that are remarkably similar, though not perfectly identical. The patterns are influenced not just by genetics, but by tiny changes in the womb, such as differences in blood flow and pressure, meaning no two sets are ever exactly alike. The stomach is another surprising organ. It produces new layers of mucus every few hours to protect itself from being digested by its own acid. Without this constant renewal, the acid strong enough to break down meat and bone would damage the stomach lining itself. In a sense, our body is always rebuilding to protect itself from its own power. Another strange fact is that our bones are constantly changing. We may think of them as solid and unchanging, but in reality, the human skeleton completely replaces itself about once every 10 years. Cells called osteoclasts break down old bone, while osteoblasts build new bone. This constant cycle of destruction and renewal means the skeleton you have today is not the same one you had a decade ago. The human eye, too, holds unusual traits. Did you know that the cornea, the clear outer layer at the front of the eye, has no blood vessels at all? It receives oxygen directly from the air, absorbed through tears. This makes it one of the few parts of the body that is completely avascular, yet it remains nourished and functional throughout our lives. And then there is the liver, sometimes called the body silent multitasker. It performs more than 500 different functions, from detoxifying blood to producing bile for digestion. Perhaps the strangest fact is that the liver is the only human organ that can regenerate significantly. Even if on much 70% of it is removed, it can grow back to full size. Some human oddities are less common, but no less fascinating. There are cases of people with mirror image organs, a condition known as situs inversus. In these individuals, the heart is on the right side, the liver is on the left, and other organs are reversed, as if the body were flipped. Most people with this condition live normal, healthy lives. Perhaps the most humbling fact of all is that our bodies are not entirely our own. For every human cell in your body, there are about as many bacterial cells living alongside them, on your skin, in your gut, and throughout your system. This microbiome plays a vital role in digestion, immunity, and even mood regulation. In a sense, we are not just individuals, but living ecosystems made up of many species. The strangeness of the human body reminds us that we too are part of nature's web of wonders. Even within our own skin, there are mysteries, adaptations, and oddities worth marveling at. In the next section, we'll leave Earth for a while and look outward into the universe, exploring some of the strangest facts about space itself. When we look up at the night sky, it may be calm and still, but space is filled with phenomena that are stranger than anything we encounter on Earth. The more astronomers study the universe, the more they uncover facts that are almost impossible to believe, yet undeniably true. One of the most astonishing discoveries is the existence of diamond planets. Scientists believe that some planets are composed largely of carbon, and under immense pressure, this carbon could form diamond. One such candidate is 55 Cancri E, a planet twice the size of Earth. While it is unlikely to be a glittering jewel in the way we might imagine, the idea that entire planets could be made of diamond stretches our sense of what worlds can be. Neutron stars are another wonder. These objects form when massive stars explode as supernovae, leaving behind collapsed cores so dense that a single teaspoon of their material would weigh billions of tons. Neutron stars also spin at incredible speeds. Some rotate hundreds of times per second, producing beams of radiation that sweep across space like cosmic lighthouses. Black holes take strangeness to another level. With gravity so strong that not even light can escape, they bend both space and time around them. Scientists have found that near the event horizon, time slows relative to the outside universe. In theory, an observer falling toward a black hole would experience moments normally, while to a distant observer, they would appear frozen in time at the edge. Space also has smells, though not ones we can breathe directly. Astronauts returning from spacewalks have reported that their suits and equipment carry a scent resembling seared steak, hot metal, or welding fumes. This odor comes from high-energy vibrations of atoms that occur in the vacuum of space, clinging faintly to equipment once it re-enters a normal atmosphere. Another unusual fact is that space is not entirely silent. While sound cannot travel through a vacuum in the way it does through air, the vast clouds of gas and plasma between stars can carry waves that scientists convert into sound. NASA has captured eerie audio from planets, pulsars, and even black holes, giving us a way to listen to the cosmos. There are also rogue planets that drift through space without orbiting a star. These solitary wanderers, cold and dark, could number in the billions in our galaxy alone. Some may even harbor subsurface oceans warmed by internal heat, raising the possibility of life in places far removed from starlight. Perhaps one of the most mind-bending facts is that the observable universe is expanding, and not just expanding slowly. Galaxies are moving away from us at speeds faster than light. Not because they are traveling through space that quickly, but because space itself is stretching. This means that regions of the universe we see today will eventually slip beyond our view forever. And then there are quasars, the blazing hearts of distant galaxies powered by supermassive black holes. Some are so bright that they outshine entire galaxies, visible from billions of light years away. To think that a single object can produce such immense energy is both humbling and awe-inspiring. The universe is vast, full of objects and phenomena that seem more like works of science fiction than reality. Each discovery reminds us how much we still don't know and how strange and varied existence can be on the grandest scale. In the next section, we'll bring our attention back to Earth and look at plants, life forms that may seem familiar, but carry their own collection of weird and wonderful facts. Plants surround us every day, and because they are so common, we often forget just how strange they can be. Silent, rooted, and seemingly simple plants actually have some of the most bizarre survival strategies in the natural world. Take carnivorous plants, for instance. Most plants make their living from sunlight and soil, but in nutrient-poor environments, some turn to hunting. The Venus flytrap is one of the most famous examples. Its leaves form small traps lined with hair-like sensors. When an insect touches these hairs twice within about 20 seconds, the trap snaps shut. The plant then secretes digestive enzymes to slowly dissolve the prey and absorb its nutrients. It's one of the few plants we can watch eat. Another odd carnivorous plant is the pitcher plant. Instead of snapping shut, it forms deep, slippery cavities filled with digestive liquid. Insects lured by sweet nectar often fall inside and cannot escape. Some species are so large that they can even trap small animals like frogs or mice. Then there is the corpse flower native to Sumatra. This enormous bloom can reach more than 10 feet tall, making it one of the largest flowers in the world. When it blooms, it emits a smell like rotting meat, attracting carrion beetles and flies. The odor is so strong that it can be detected from a great distance. Despite its unpleasant scent, the bloom is rare and celebrated, drawing crowds whenever one opens in botanical gardens. Plants can also live extraordinary lifespans. Bristlecone pines, found in the mountains of California, are among the oldest living organisms on Earth. Some have been alive for more than 4,800 years, sprouting before the pyramids of Egypt were built. And then there's Pando, a colony of quaking aspen trees in Utah. Though it looks like a forest of individual trees, it is actually a single organism connected by one root system. Pando may be more than 80,000 years old, making it one of the most ancient living beings on the planet. There are also plants that move in ways we don't expect. The sensitive plant, Mimosa pudica, folds its leaves instantly when touched, as though shying away from contact. Scientists believe this rapid movement may discourage animals from eating it. Over time, the leaves reopen and the plant returns to its normal state. Some plants have remarkable defenses. For instance, the sandbox tree of Central and South America produces explosive seed pods that can hurl seeds at speeds up to 150 miles per hour. The pods burst with a loud bang, earning the tree the nickname the dynamite tree. Even something as common as grass hides a strange truth. Freshly cut grass releases a chemical called green leaf volatiles, which produce the familiar cut grass smell. To humans, it is a pleasant, fresh scent, but to the plant, it is actually a distress signal. A chemical alarm that can warn neighboring plants of damage and attract insects that prey on herbivores. From flowers that smell of decay to trees that survive for tens of thousands of years, plants reveal that strangeness isn't limited to the animal kingdom. They adapt in ways both subtle and dramatic, each strategy a reminder of nature's inventiveness. In the next section, we'll look at Earth itself and the atmosphere around us, exploring some of the weirdest weather patterns and natural phenomena that occur on our planet. The weather may seem like one of the most ordinary parts of our lives. Rain falls, wind blows, storms come and go. Yet hidden within the atmosphere are rare and unusual phenomena that reveal just how strange and surprising our planet can be. One such occurrence is the phenomenon of raining animals. Though it sounds like folklore, there are documented cases of fish, frogs, and even small crabs falling from the sky. This happens when powerful updrafts in storms lift animals from lakes, rivers, or oceans, carrying them into the clouds and depositing them far away. To those on the ground, it can seem as though creatures are simply falling out of nowhere. Another rare phenomenon is ball lightning. Unlike the flashes of ordinary lightning, ball lightning appears as glowing spheres of light, sometimes floating through the air for several seconds before vanishing. Descriptions include orbs the size of tennis balls or larger, moving unpredictably indoors or outdoors. Although sightings have been reported for centuries, the exact cause remains a mystery, making it one of weather's strangest puzzles. Then there are fire rainbows, officially called circumhorizontal arcs. These appear when sunlight passes through high-altitude ice crystals in cirrus clouds. The light refracts in such a way that a rainbow-like band forms parallel to the horizon, glowing in bright colors across the sky. Despite the fiery name, they have nothing to do with flames, but their vivid stripes make them one of the rarest and most breathtaking optical events. In parts of the world, storms can take truly unusual forms. In Venezuela, the Caratumbo River region is home to the everlasting lightning storm. Here, storms produce lightning flashes nearly 300 nights of the year, sometimes lasting for 10 hours at a time. This unique weather pattern is caused by a combination of mountain winds and moist air from the lake, creating an almost constant electrical display visible from miles away. Dust storms, too, can grow into extraordinary forces of nature. The haboobs of the Sahara and deserts of North America are massive walls of dust that can stretch for miles, swallowing entire cities in minutes. But when they approach, the sky darkens and the world turns to shadow as the storm passes through. These towering walls of dust are powerful reminders of the atmosphere reach. Another strange phenomenon occurs not in the sky, but underground. Sometimes lightning strikes the ground and fuses grains of sand into glass-like tubes called fulgurites. These fragile formations preserve the path of a lightning bolt frozen into stone. Each one is a natural sculpture created in a single instant of raw power. Even something as common as rain holds unusual secrets. In parts of India, for example, reports of red rain have puzzled scientists. While it was once thought to be caused by dust or volcanic ash, in some cases, the reddish color has been linked to spores of local algae carried into the atmosphere. Imagine looking up at a sky that rains not clear water, but crimson drops. Weather, with all its unpredictability, shows us that the atmosphere is more than background. It is alive with phenomena that can amaze, unsettle, and inspire. In the next section, we dive beneath the surface of Earth waters to explore some of the strangest facts about oceans, lakes, and rivers. Water covers more than 70% of our planet, and beneath its surface are some of the strangest natural phenomena on Earth. From lakes that defy expectations to underwater rivers and boiling seas, water shows us again and again how weird and surprising the natural world can be. One of the most unusual features of the ocean is the existence of underwater rivers. In some places, dense layers of salty or sulfur-rich water form currents at the bottom of the sea that flow like rivers within the ocean itself. Divers exploring these places have reported the eerie sight of streams and even waterfalls beneath the waves. One striking example can be found in the cenotes of Mexico, where a layer of hydrogen sulfide creates what looks like a river flowing through an underwater cave. Lakes, too, can display bizarre qualities. Take Lake Narration in Tanzania, which is so alkaline that its waters can calcify animals. Birds or small creatures that fall into the lake may become coated in a mineral shell, preserved in a stony form that looks almost like a sculpture. The bright red color of the water caused by salt-loving microorganisms adds to the lake's surreal and otherworldly appearance. Another unusual body of water is Lake Hillier in Australia. This small lake is famous for its bubblegum pink color, a hue so vivid that it looks artificial from above. Unlike other colored lakes that change over time, Lake Hillier remains consistently pink, even when its water is bottled. The color is thought to come from specific algae and bacteria that thrive in its salty environment. The ocean also holds thermal wonders. In certain places along the seafloor, hydrothermal vents release superheated water, rich in minerals. Though the surrounding ocean is near freezing, the water from these vents can exceed 700 degrees Fahrenheit. Instead of destroying life, these vents host unique ecosystems where strange creatures like giant tube worms and heat-resistant bacteria thrive without sunlight. And there are the brine pools, dense salty lakes that sit at the bottom of the ocean. These pools do not mix with the seawater above, creating clear boundaries like shorelines beneath the waves. To marine life, the brine pools are lethal, so fish and crabs that venture into them often do not survive. Yet around the edges, unusual organisms gather, living on the boundary of two very different worlds. Rivers on land also have their share of oddities. In Iceland, there is a waterfall where hot water and cold water flow side by side, mixing only as they plunge into the valley below. In other parts of the world, rivers meet but refuse to blend for long distances because of differences in density in sediment. The most famous example is the meeting of the Rio Negro and the Amazon Solimões River in Brazil, where dark and light waters run side by side for miles before merging. And then there are truly extreme waters. The boiling river of the Amazon is one such place. Stretching nearly 4 miles, the river runs at temperatures hot enough to kill animals that fall in. Scientists believe geothermal heat deep underground warms the water, creating a natural scalding current that flows through the rainforest. From pink lakes to rivers beneath the sea, water reveals itself to be far stranger than the calm streams or oceans we usually imagine. Each of these places feels like a secret world, a reminder that Earth itself is full of marvels. In the next section, we'll look back in time to discover some of the strangest moments and unusual figures in human history. History is often taught as a series of grand events, wars, revolutions, inventions, and discoveries. Yet scattered through the centuries are small and unusual details that are just as fascinating. These oddities remind us that the past was not only serious, but also filled with quirks and curiosities. Consider the Roman Emperor Gaius, better known as Caligula. He was infamous for his eccentric behavior, and one story claims that he planned to appoint his horse Incitatus as a consul. Whether the tale is exaggerated or not, it shows how his reign blurred the line between seriousness and absurdity. In medieval Europe, animals sometimes stood trial. Pigs, goats, and even insects were occasionally brought before courts, accused of crimes such as theft or destruction of crops. These trials often included formal hearings, legal representation, and sometimes even punishments carried out as though the animals were citizens. Today, such practices seem unbelievable, but they were once part of everyday justice. Another unusual fact involves the Great Fire of London in 1666. While the fire destroyed much of the city, it also had an unexpected benefit. It wiped out much of the rat population that had been spreading the bubonic plague. In a strange twist, a devastating disaster may have helped slow one of the deadliest outbreaks in history. In the 19th century, Napoleon Bonaparte was once attacked by a horde of rabbits. He had organized a rabbit hunt for himself and his men, but instead of fleeing, the rabbits, domesticated and released for the event, ran toward him, expecting food. The scene turned chaotic as hundreds of rabbits swarmed the emperor and his guards, forcing them to retreat. History also has its share of bizarre inventions. In the early 20th century, there was a trend in Europe and America for portable saws and mechanical corsets. Some of these devices promised improved health through electricity or steam, but often they were little more than uncomfortable contraptions that seem comical today. There are also historical mysteries that add to the strangeness of the past. For instance, the Voynich manuscript, discovered in the early 20th century, is a book written in an unknown script with illustrations of strange plants and astronomical charts. Despite decades of study, no one has been able to fully decode its contents, leaving it one of history's enduring puzzles. Another odd tale is that of the dancing plague of 1518. In Strasbourg, a woman began dancing in the streets without stopping, and soon dozens of others joined her. The strange event lasted for weeks, with people dancing uncontrollably until they collapsed from exhaustion. Historians still debate the cause, with theories ranging from mass hysteria to poisoning. Even our calendars hold oddities. Did you know that in 1752, Britain switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian one? In doing so, they had to skip 11 days. People went to bed on September 2 and woke up on September 14. Some records suggest there was public unrest. with citizens demanding their lost days back. History is often portrayed as orderly and dignified, but it is full of peculiarities, accidents, and surprising details. These moments, strange as they are, remind us that the people of the past were not so different from us, living lives filled with oddities, humor, and unexpected events. In the next section, we'll look at food, one of the most familiar parts of life, and uncover some of the weirdest facts about the things we eat. Food is one of the most familiar parts of daily life, yet even here, the world is full of strange and surprising facts. From unusual delicacies to odd historical practices, what we eat and how we eat it can be far stranger than we might expect. Take, for example, the durian fruit. Native to Southeast Asia, it is nicknamed the king of fruits. While some people adore its creamy, custard-like texture, others can't get past its powerful smell, often described as a mix of onions, gasoline, and rotting garbage. In fact, durians are banned from many hotels and public transportation systems in parts of Asia due to their overwhelming odor. Another unusual delicacy is cashew marzu, a traditional Sardinian cheese. What makes it strange is that it contains live insect larvae. The maggots are intentionally introduced to help ferment the cheese, breaking down fats and giving it a soft, spreadable texture. Though banned by European Union regulations, cashew marzu is still secretly produced and shared among locals who see it as a cultural treasure. History has also given us some curious dining habits. In ancient Rome, a popular dish called dormouse was served at banquets. These small rodents were fattened up in special jars before being roasted or stuffed with nuts and herbs. For the Romans, this was considered a delicacy fit for the wealthy elite. In Japan, there is a dish called fugu, made from pufferfish. The oddity here is that parts of the fish contain deadly toxins, making it potentially lethal if not prepared correctly. Only licensed chefs are allowed to serve it, and they undergo years of training to ensure safety. Despite the risk, it remains a highly sought-after dining experience. Even something as ordinary as bread has unusual stories. During the Middle Ages, loaves were often used as plates. Known as trenchers, thick slabs of stale bread served as a base for meals, soaking up juices and flavors. After the meal, the trencher could be eaten, given to the poor, or fed to animals. This practical yet strange tradition lasted for centuries. Modern times bring their own peculiarities. In Iceland, hakal, fermented shark, remains a traditional dish. The shark meat is buried underground for months, then hung to dry. The process removes toxins but leaves behind an extremely strong ammonia-like smell. For locals, it's a taste of heritage, but for visitors, it's often one of the most challenging foods to try. Even sweet treats can have odd origins. Chocolate, now considered a comforting indulgence, was once consumed as a bitter drink by the Maya and Aztecs, flavored with chili peppers and cornmeal. It wasn't sweetened until it reached Europe, where sugar was added to make it closer to the dessert we know today. And then there are foods that glow. Some mushrooms, as well as certain seafood like shrimp and jellyfish, contain natural bioluminescence. Though not common on dinner tables, This glow-in-the-dark trait shows that even food can surprise us with a touch of the extraordinary. From maggot cheese to glowing fungi, food is far stranger than it seems at first bite. It carries the marks of culture, tradition, and sometimes sheer daring. In the next section, we'll turn to the animal kingdom again, this time focusing on the odd behaviors and abilities of creatures all around us. The animal kingdom is full of creatures we think we know well: cats, dogs, birds, fish. But hidden in their behavior are extraordinary and sometimes downright bizarre abilities. From survival tactics to unusual instincts, animals constantly reveal just how strange and adaptable life on Earth can be. Consider the opossum, which has one of the oddest defense strategies. When threatened, it doesn't just play dead as a simple act. The animal's body actually goes into an involuntary comatose-like state, complete with drooling, a slowed heartbeat, and a foul odor, making predators believe it has truly died. This act can last for minutes or even hours until danger passes. Another curious behavior belongs to the lyrebird of Australia. This bird is one of the greatest mimics in the animal world. It can perfectly imitate chainsaws, camera shutters, car alarms, and even human voices. Males use this incredible ability to impress females, weaving an entire concert of borrowed sounds into their mating displays. Then there are ants, whose societies are full of unusual adaptations. Some species farm fungi underground, tending their crops much like humans do. Others engage in herding, protecting and feeding aphids in exchange for the sweet liquid they produce. These insect farmers demonstrate that complex agriculture is not uniquely human. Octopuses, already strange with their 8 arms and high intelligence, have been observed using tools. They gather coconut shells and carry them across the sea floor, assembling them into shelters when needed. This makes the octopus one of the few non-human creatures to build portable armor. On the more puzzling side, dolphins have been seen deliberately blowing bubble rings and playing with them, almost like children with toys. They also give each other unique whistles that function much like names, allowing them to recognize and call to one another. Such behaviors hint at levels of communication more complex than we might expect from animals. Even the seemingly simple cuckoo bird has a strange and rather devious behavior. Instead of raising its own young, it lays its eggs in the nests of other birds. The unsuspecting foster parents raise the cuckoo chick as their own, often at the expense of their actual offspring. This survival tactic, known as brood parasitism, ensures the cuckoo's survival while deceiving others into doing the hard work. Some animals have abilities that border on the unbelievable. The immortal jellyfish, for example, can revert its cells back to a juvenile stage after reaching adulthood, essentially restarting its life cycle. While not truly immortal in every case, this ability makes it one of the closest examples of biological immortality in nature. Meanwhile, certain frogs can freeze solid in winter, their hearts stopping entirely, only to thaw and return to life when spring arrives. This remarkable survival strategy allows them to endure conditions that would kill most other creatures. From playing dead to farming, from mimicking sounds to living indefinitely, the behaviors of animals remind us that nature is endlessly inventive. The more we observe, the more we realize that normal in the animal world often looks wonderfully strange to us. In the next section, we'll explore some of the oddities of human biology, strange facts about our own bodies that you might not believe. When we think about strange facts, it's easy to look at the outside world, animals, oceans, history. But perhaps the strangest subject of all is our own bodies. The human body is full of odd quirks, hidden abilities, and mysteries that most of us never even realize. Take, for example, our stomachs. Did you know that the lining of your stomach completely renews itself every 3 to 4 days? If it didn't, the powerful acid used to digest food would eat through the tissue itself. Our bodies are constantly rebuilding, even without us noticing. Another curious fact is that humans glow. Our bodies emit small amounts of light, a natural bioluminescence that comes from metabolic reactions. Though the glow is far too faint for the human eye to detect, sensitive cameras have proven that we shine subtly throughout the day, with the glow strongest in the late afternoon. Your bones, too, have a surprising property. Pound for pound, bone is stronger than steel. A cubic inch of bone can withstand thousands of pounds of pressure, even though it feels fragile compared to metal. This strength, combined with lightness, makes bone a natural marvel of engineering. Strangeness also shows up in how our senses work. Some people experience synesthesia, where the brain mixes up sensory signals. This can mean hearing music and seeing colors at the same time, or tasting certain flavors when reading words. While unusual for those who experience it, synesthesia is a natural part of life. Sleep, a daily part of life, also hides odd details. For instance, during dreams, most people are effectively paralyzed. This temporary paralysis prevents us from acting out our dreams, keeping us safe while we rest. Sleepwalking occurs when this system doesn't fully activate, leading people to move about in strange ways during the night. The body also holds unexpected abilities. Some people are born with a condition called supertaste, where their tongues have extra taste buds. This makes them extremely sensitive to bitter flavors, so much so that foods like coffee, broccoli, or dark chocolate can taste overwhelming. Even something as simple as earwax has unusual variations. Around the world, humans produce 2 distinct types, wet earwax and dry earwax. This difference is genetic and varies by population, with dry earwax more common in East Asia and wet earwax more common in Africa and Europe. It may seem trivial, but it's a fascinating reminder of how diverse our bodies can be. And then there's the heart, our most vital organ. Over the course of an average lifetime, a human heart will beat more than 2.5 billion times. Yet the rhythm is unique to each person, so much so that your heartbeat could theoretically serve as a kind of biometric signature, as individual as a fingerprint. From glowing skin to paralyzing dreams, from steel-strong bones to unusual tastes, our own biology is full of quirks and marvels. Strange as it all sounds, these facts remind us that even within ourselves, mystery and wonder are always present. In the next section, we'll explore strange inventions and unusual technology from across history and around the world. Throughout history, humans have been inventors, constantly creating new tools, machines, and devices. Many inventions change the world, but some are strange, quirky, or simply ahead of their time. These odd technologies show just how imaginative and sometimes eccentric human creativity can be. Consider the baby cage, a real product from the early 20th century. It was a wire mesh box that parents could attach outside their apartment windows, several stories above the ground. Babies were placed inside to get fresh air and sunlight. While it sounds shocking today, at the time it was seen as a practical solution for families living in crowded cities. Another unusual invention is the Teasmaid, a British bedside device from the 1930s. This contraption combined an alarm clock with a built-in teapot. At the set time, the machine would brew a pot of tea right by your bed, ensuring you woke up to a hot drink without leaving the covers. History also brought us inventions that were strange but surprisingly effective. For example, Leonardo da Vinci sketched designs for a self-propelled cart in the 15th century, a precursor to the modern automobile. His design used springs and gears, and though it looked odd, it actually worked when modern engineers built replicas. In Japan, there's a tradition of unusual but practical gadgets known as shinogu. These are inventions designed to solve everyday problems, often in humorous or impractical ways. Examples include umbrella hats, slippers with built-in dusting brushes, and glasses with tiny funnels for eye drops. While not mass-produced, they highlight the playful side of human innovation. Sometimes unusual inventions aim to solve very specific problems. In the 19th century, inventors created anti-garrote collars, spiked metal neck pieces meant to protect wealthy men from being strangled by thieves. Though they may have provided some safety, wearing them was uncomfortable and certainly odd by today's standards. Technology has also given us strange experiments with transportation. In the 1950s, there were prototypes of one-wheel motorcycles called monowheels. Riders sat inside a giant wheel steering as it rolled forward. Though fascinating to watch, they were difficult to control and never became practical. Even in food technology, odd ideas have appeared. In the 1970s, NASA experimented with space bread, trying to find a way to prevent crumbs from floating around in zero gravity. The solution was tortillas, which are now a staple on space missions. What began as a strange workaround became an essential part of astronaut meals. And then there are inventions that are simply whimsical. The cat piano, an alleged 17th century idea, was said to line up cats so their tails could be pressed like piano keys, each meowing in different pitches. While likely more legend than reality, the very concept reflects the curious mix of imagination and eccentricity in human invention. From baby cages to tortilla space meals, odd inventions remind us that innovation isn't always straightforward. Sometimes it's practical, sometimes whimsical, and sometimes downright bizarre, but it always reveals the creative spirit of humanity. In the next section, we'll look at unusual records and extreme achievements from around the world that highlight just how strange human ambition can be. Human beings have always pushed boundaries, whether in art, science, or personal feats. Sometimes these achievements are awe-inspiring, but other times they are simply strange. The world of unusual records and odd human accomplishments shows just how curious and creative people can be. Take, for instance, the record for the world's longest fingernails. Sridhar Chilal from India grew his nails for more than 60 years, reaching a combined length of over 29 feet. Though impressive, everyday tasks became nearly impossible, and his nails eventually had to be carefully cut and preserved in a museum. Another curious record is the largest collection of rubber ducks. An American woman named Charlotte Lee holds this record, with over 9,000 unique rubber ducks of different shapes, sizes, and themes. From superhero ducks to holiday-themed ones, her collection demonstrates how even simple toys can become objects of dedication. In Japan, there is a festival where participants attempt to create the largest human mattress domino effect. Hundreds of people line up on mattresses, leaning into each other one by one until the entire row topples in sequence. It may not be a practical achievement, but it's certainly entertaining and requires incredible coordination. Some records are feats of endurance. Usher Teffelman, known as the man with the most Guinness World Records, has set more than 600 records in his lifetime. These include unusual challenges like the fastest mile on a pogo stick, the longest underwater juggling, and balancing a lawnmower on his chin. His dedication to odd achievements shows the playful side of human ambition. There are also records that showcase strange appetites. Joey Chestnut, a competitive eater from the United States, holds the record for eating 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes. While fascinating, such feats push the human body to extremes most people would never attempt. Even architecture holds unusual achievements. The world's crookedest house, located in Poland, is designed with warped walls and windows that look like something from a cartoon. Meanwhile, in Dubai, the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, rises to an incredible 2,722 feet, a testament to just how far humans can stretch engineering. Some records celebrate the miniature rather than the massive. The world's smallest book, produced by scientists in Russia, measures just 0.07 millimeters across. The text inside can only be read under a microscope. On the other side of the spectrum, the largest book ever made weighs over 3,000 pounds. And then there are the wonderfully quirky records, like the largest gathering of people dressed as Smurfs, or the most t-shirts worn at once. These playful achievements remind us that not all ambition is about seriousness. Sometimes it's about fun, community, and creating a moment to remember. From towering buildings to tiny books, from pogo sticks to endless fingernails, the world of unusual records is proof that human creativity knows no bounds. In the next section, we'll step into the cosmos once again to explore some of the strangest and most fascinating facts about outer space. Space has always fascinated humanity. It's vast, mysterious, and full of wonders. Yet beyond its beauty and grandeur, outer space also holds some of the strangest and most unexpected facts you can imagine. For instance, did you know there are rogue planets that drift through the galaxy without a star? These planets float in darkness, not tied to any solar system, endlessly wandering the cosmos. Some estimates suggest there could be more rogue planets in the Milky Way than stars themselves. Another strange feature of the universe is diamond planets. Certain exoplanets, like 55 Cancri E, may contain carbon-rich interiors that, under immense pressure, form layers of diamond. Imagine an entire world shimmering with precious stone, a treasure planet on a cosmic scale. Closer to home, Saturn moon Titan is unique for its liquid lakes. But unlike Earth, Titan lakes are filled with methane and ethane, hydrocarbons that would be deadly to us. Standing there, you would see rivers and lakes, much like on Earth, but made of substances that could fuel our cars. There are also planets that rain strange things. On Jupiter, scientists believe storms may cause it to rain diamonds. On Neptune, conditions could also form solid diamond hail that falls deep into the planet interior, far stranger than Earth's ordinary rain. Stars themselves hold peculiar qualities. For example, neutron stars are so dense that a teaspoon of their material would weigh as much as a mountain on Earth. These collapsed stars spin at incredible speeds, some rotating hundreds of times per second, creating pulses of radiation that reach across the galaxy. And then there are black holes, perhaps the strangest objects of all. Their gravity is so powerful that not even light can escape. Yet scientists have discovered that black holes are not just destroyers, they can actually emit energy in the form of Hawking radiation, slowly evaporating over unimaginable timescales. Space even contains sounds, though not in the way we hear them on Earth. In certain regions of gas and plasma, vibrations can travel as waves. Instruments aboard spacecraft have captured eerie songs of planets and magnetic fields, producing sounds that are haunting and alien. Another odd fact is that astronauts grow taller in space. Without the constant pull of gravity compressing their spines, their vertebrae stretch slightly, making them up to 2 inches taller during missions. However, they shrink back to normal height once they return to Earth. Perhaps one of the most mind-bending facts of all is that space itself is expanding. Not only are galaxies moving away from us, but the very fabric of the universe stretches as time passes. This means distant galaxies are retreating faster and faster, eventually moving beyond what we can ever see. From diamond planets to strange cosmic sounds, from rogue worlds to growing taller among the stars, outer space is as bizarre as it is beautiful. Every discovery reminds us that the universe holds more mysteries than we can imagine. In the next section, we'll bring things back down to Earth again with strange cultural customs and unusual traditions from around the world. Every culture on Earth has its own traditions, rituals, celebrations, and customs that have been passed down through generations. Many of these are beautiful, meaningful, and sometimes unusual to outside eyes. Exploring these customs reveals just how diverse and surprising human societies can be. In Indonesia, the Toraja people hold a ceremony called manying. During this ritual, families exhume the bodies of their deceased relatives, clean and dress them in fresh clothes, and then parade them around the village. Far from being morbid, it is seen as a way of honoring ancestors and keeping family bonds strong, even beyond death. In Japan, there is a festival known as Hadaka Matsuri, or the Native Festival. Thousands of men dressed in minimal clothing, often just loincloths, gather at temples in the winter to compete for sacred objects tossed by priests. The tradition is believed to bring good luck and prosperity for the year. Another unusual custom can be found in Spain's small town of Castrillo de Murcia. Here, the El Colacho festival involves men dressed as devils leaping over babies who are laid on mattresses in the street. The tradition dates back to the 1600s and is believed to cleanse the infants of evil spirits and bring protection. In South Korea, there is a unique celebration called Buryong Mud Festival. Originally created to promote the health benefits of local mineral-rich mud, it has since turned into an annual summer event where thousands of people cover themselves in mud, slide down mud chutes, and enjoy concerts, all while embracing the messy fun. Some customs are tied to unusual foods. In Greenland, a traditional delicacy called kiviak is made by fermenting seabirds inside the body of a seal for several months. Once ready, the birds are eaten raw during special occasions, such as winter festivals. Though strange to outsiders, it is a meaningful part of Greenlandic heritage. In India, there is a temple where rats are revered. At the Kali temple in Rajasthan, thousands of rats roam freely, cared for and fed by worshippers. These rats are considered sacred, and eating food nibbled on by them is thought to bring blessings. Visitors from around the world come to witness this unusual yet deeply respected tradition. In Madagascar, families celebrate a ritual called famadihana, or the turning of the bones. Every few years, relatives exhume the remains of loved ones, rewrap them in fresh cloth, and dance with them during a lively celebration. It is an act of remembrance and joy, celebrating the connection between the living and the dead. Even weddings can involve unusual customs. In Scotland, there is a practice called blackening the bride and groom, where friends cover the couple with sticky substances like molasses, feathers, or flour. Before the wedding, the messy ordeal is meant to prepare them for any hardships they might face together in marriage. From mud festivals to bone turnings, from baby leaping devils to sacred rats, human traditions show us that culture is endlessly diverse. What seems unusual in one place is often a cherished practice in another, reminding us of the many ways people find meaning and connection. In the next section, we'll explore oddities of language, strange words, unique expressions, and surprising linguistic quirks from around the world. Language is one of the most powerful tools humans possess. It allows us to share ideas, tell stories, and connect across time and distance. Yet within language are countless quirks, oddities, and strange facts that reveal just how creative communication can be. For instance, the word bookkeeper is one of the only English words with 3 pairs of double letters in a row. While it looks unusual, it is perfectly correct. Similarly, dreamt is the only word in English that ends with the letters MT. These little quirks highlight how unpredictable spelling can be. Some languages contain words that cannot be directly translated into English. In German, there is Schadenfreude, which means the joy you feel at someone else's misfortune. In Japanese, Shindoku describes the habit of acquiring books and letting them pile up without reading them. These words capture entire experiences in a single phrase that English lacks. Even names for colors vary across languages. In Russian, there are separate words for light blue, velikoly, and dark blue sunny, treating them as distinct as red and orange. In some ancient languages, words for colors like blue didn't even exist, raising questions about how people in the past perceived the world. Languages also evolve in unusual ways. The English word girl, for example, once referred to a young person of either sex, not specifically female. Over time, its meaning narrowed. Similarly, meat used to mean all kinds of food, not just animal flesh. These shifts remind us that words are constantly changing. There are also words created for very specific situations. In Welsh, hiraeth refers to a deep longing for something lost or a home that can never truly be returned to. In Inuit languages, there are multiple words for different types of snow, reflecting the importance of snow in daily life. Language adapts to culture, encoding what matters most. Some oddities exist in how we write. For example, the dot above the letter I or J is called a tittle. Few people know this small detail, yet it has a name of its own. The longest word in English, depending on how you count, is a technical name for a protein that stretches to nearly 190,000 letters. While not practical, it shows the extremes of language. And then there are palindromes and pangrams. Palindromes are words or phrases that read the same backward and forward, like a race car or a Madden. Pangrams, meanwhile, are sentences that use every letter of the alphabet at least once, like the famous "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog." These playful uses of letters show the artistry hidden in everyday writing. Even silence can hold meaning. In some cultures, pauses in conversation are not awkward, but respected, giving space for thought. Language is not only about the words themselves, but also about the rhythm, tone, and context in which they are spoken. From untranslatable words to quirky spellings, from color perception to playful palindromes, the world of language is filled with strangeness and delight. It is proof that communication is as creative as it is practical. In the next section, we'll turn our attention to the natural world once more, looking at some of the strangest plants and fungi on Earth. When we think of strange life on Earth, our minds often go to animals. Plants and fungi can be just as bizarre, sometimes even more so. They have adapted to survive in remarkable and unusual ways, creating some of the weirdest forms of life on the planet. One striking example is the corpse flower, or Amorphophallus titanum. Native to Sumatra, this enormous plant produces one of the largest flowers in the world, reaching over 10 feet tall. Its most famous feature, however, is its smell, an overwhelming stench of rotting flesh. The odor attracts carrion beetles and flies that help pollinate the plant, though for humans it can be almost unbearable. Equally fascinating is the Venus flytrap, found in the Carolinas in the United States. This carnivorous plant snaps shut when tiny hairs inside its leaves are triggered, trapping unsuspecting insects. Within days, it digests its prey, drawing nutrients from the body. Though small, it is one of the most famous examples of plants turning the tables on animals. In Australia, there grows a tree known as the Gympie gympie. This plant has fine, stinging hairs that deliver one of the most painful toxins in the plant kingdom. People who brush against it describe excruciating pain that can last for months. Some accounts say the pain can be so severe it drives animals and even humans into panic. Fungi also produce their share of oddities. The bleeding tooth fungus, for instance, looks like a piece of white chewing gum that bleeds bright red liquid. Though not harmful to touch, its unsettling appearance has earned it the nickname strawberries and cream. Another curious fungus is the devil fingers, which sprouts red, tentacle-like structures that look like something out of a horror movie. In Madagascar, the traveler tree has evolved a unique adaptation. Its enormous leaves grow in a fan-like shape and their bases store water. Thirsty travelers can tap into the plant to drink, which is how it earned its name. Then there are plants that mimic others. The orchid mantis plant, for example, produces flowers that resemble insects. Meanwhile, some orchids have evolved to look and smell like female bees, tricking male bees into attempting to mate with them, thus spreading pollen in the process. Perhaps one of the strangest fungi is Ophiocordyceps, sometimes called the zombie fungus. It infects insects like ants, taking over their bodies and forcing them to climb high onto vegetation. The fungus then bursts out of the insect body, spreading spores to continue its eerie cycle. And let not forget the well-witched deer, a plant found in the deserts of Namibia and Angola. It has only 2 leaves that grow continuously for its entire life, twisting into bizarre shapes. Some individuals are believed to be over 1,000 years old, surviving in one of the harshest environments on Earth. From flowers that smell like corpses to fungi that bleed, from zombie parasites to plants that bite back, the world of plants and fungi is far stranger than most people realize. They are living proof that nature doesn't just adapt, it also surprises. In the next section, we'll look at strange historical figures whose lives and actions left behind stories as unusual as the plants and creatures we've just explored. History is filled with kings, queens, generals, and inventors, but tucked between the grand stories are tales of truly unusual individuals. Some lived eccentric lives, others performed bizarre acts, and many left behind stories that are stranger than fiction. Take, for example, Emperor Norton of San Francisco. In the mid-1800s, Joshua Abraham Norton declared himself Emperor of the United States and later Protector of Mexico. Though he had no political power, the citizens of San Francisco embraced him with affection. He issued his own currency, which some businesses accepted, and even called for the construction of a bridge connecting San Francisco to Oakland, a project that was built decades later. Another odd character was Grigory Rasputin, the Russian mystic who became a trusted advisor to the royal Romanov family in the early 1900s. Known for his hypnotic influence and mysterious healing abilities, Rasputin gained enormous power. His death was just as strange as his life. He was poisoned, shot multiple times, beaten, and finally drowned. Yet it reportedly took all of this to end his life. In the 1700s, there lived an Englishman named Terrare, whose insatiable appetite made him famous. He could eat almost anything, large amounts of meat, live animals, and even objects that were not food at all. Despite his constant hunger, he remained thin. Doctors studied him extensively, but his condition remains a medical mystery. History also gives us the story of Mary Toft, an Englishwoman in the 1700s, who convinced doctors that she could give birth to rabbits. She staged elaborate hoaxes by inserting rabbit parts into her body, which shocked physicians of the time. The story spread widely until the deception was uncovered, leaving her infamous in medical history. Then there's Tsutomu Yamaguchi, a man from Japan who became known as the double survivor. He was in Hiroshima when the first atomic bomb fell, surviving the devastation. Astonishingly, he traveled to Nagasaki the very next day, just in time to experience the second bombing, which he also survived. He went on to live a long life, telling his story to the world. The annals of history are also filled with unusual rumors. King Charles VI of France, who reigned in the 14th century, was convinced that he was made of glass. He ordered his clothes to be reinforced with iron rods so he wouldn't shatter, and often refused to be touched. His strange delusion made ruling a kingdom all the more difficult. And in ancient Rome, Emperor Elagabalus shocked citizens by defying social norms. He reportedly decorated banquet halls with rose petals so thick that guests sometimes suffocated under the weight of them. He also insisted on unusual religious practices and personal behaviors that scandalized Roman society. From eccentric emperors to mystics, from hoaxes to medical mysteries, these strange figures remind us that history is not just a record of great battles and inventions, but also the peculiar and extraordinary lives of individuals who lived very differently from the rest. In the next section, we'll dive into the world of unusual inventions and odd technologies that people have dreamed up, some practical, some ridiculous, and some that are simply beyond imagination. Human creativity knows no bounds. Throughout history, people have invented countless devices to make life easier, more entertaining, or simply stranger. Some inventions change the world, while others make us wonder what their creators were thinking. Take, for instance, the anti-bandit briefcase. Developed in the 1960s, it was designed to prevent theft. If a robber tried to steal it, the briefcase could be triggered by the owner to explode non-lethally by scattering its contents and emitting smoke. While it was a clever idea, it didn't exactly catch on for everyday commuters. Another odd invention is the baby cage. In the early 1900s, parents in crowded cities wanted to give their children fresh air. The solution? Wire cages that could be attached to the outside of apartment windows, allowing babies to nap safely several stories above the ground. Thankfully, modern parenting methods have moved away from this risky idea. Then there's a Fliz bike, a bicycle without pedals. Instead of sitting on a seat, the rider is suspended in a harness, using their feet to run along the ground while gliding between strides. It combines jogging and cycling, but with none of the convenience of either. In Japan, inventors have created all sorts of delightfully strange gadgets, often known as chindogu, or useless inventions. These include things like chopsticks with a built-in fan to cool noodles as you eat, umbrellas for shoes, and head-mounted toilet paper dispensers for people with allergies. The beauty of chindogu is that it walks the line between genius and absurdity. One of the strangest real inventions was the pigeon-guided missile developed during World War II by behaviorist B.F. Skinner. He trained pigeons to peck at images of enemy targets, steering missiles toward them. The project actually worked in tests, but it was never deployed, probably for good reason. There are also inventions that sound futuristic but are entirely real. For example, researchers have created a tooth tattoo sensor that can detect bacteria in the mouth and clothes that can charge your phone while you walk. Even stranger are living materials, fabrics, that incorporate bacteria to self-clean or even glow in the dark. Of course, some inventions come from the desire for comfort or laziness. There's a Japanese device called the nap helmet, which lets office workers nap while sitting upright. Another is the selfie toaster, which burns your face onto a piece of bread. In the 19th century, inventors came up with the umbrella hat, designed to keep hands free while protecting from rain or sun. While it never became fashionable, it remains a favorite gag item. Similarly, someone invented motorized roller skates in the 1950s. They looked impressive, but controlling them proved difficult, and falling was a common outcome. Even transportation has seen bizarre attempts. In 1921, a German engineer built the Zeppelin, a train powered by a giant airplane propeller. It reached speeds over 140 miles per hour. But safety concerns, mainly the spinning blades, ended the idea. Some of the strangest inventions never made it past the prototype stage, but they share one thing in common: imagination. Whether it's baby cages or pigeon pilots, every odd invention reminds us that innovation often begins with the willingness to dream, no matter how strange the dream might be. Sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction. Throughout history, there have been coincidences and mysterious events that defy explanation, stories that make us wonder whether fate, chance, or something deeper is at play. One of the most famous coincidences involves two men named James Brady. In 1898, author Morgan Robertson wrote a novel titled Futility about a luxurious ocean liner called the Titan that sinks after hitting an iceberg. 14 years later, the Titanic met the same fate. Both ships were described as unsinkable, both hit icebergs in the North Atlantic, and both had an eerily similar number of lifeboats and passengers. Then there's the story of the reuniting twins. In 1979, identical twins who had been separated at birth were reunited at age 39. They had both been named James by their adoptive families. Both married women named Linda, both divorced, and both remarried women named Betty. They each had sons named James Allen and James Allen, and both owned dogs named Toy. Despite never knowing each other, their lives unfolded in nearly identical ways. Coincidences even appear in politics. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846 and John F. Kennedy in 1946. Lincoln was elected president in 1860 and Kennedy in 1960. Both were succeeded by men named Johnson, Andrew Johnson, and Lyndon Johnson, born exactly 100 years apart. Both presidents were shot in the head on a Friday, and both assassins were known by 3 names with 15 letters: John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald. In 1975, a man in Bermuda was killed by a taxi while riding his moped. A year later, his brother died in exactly the same way, on the same street, at the same age, riding the same moped, hit by the same taxi, driven by the same driver, carrying the same passenger. The odds of such a repetition are beyond imagination. Coincidences even reach the world of literature. Writer Mark Twain was born in 1835, the same year Halley Comet appeared. He famously predicted he would die when the comet returned. Sure enough, he passed away in 1910, just one day after Halley Comet appeared in the sky again. There are also mysteries that remain unsolved till this day. For instance, the Voynich manuscript, a centuries-old book written in an unknown language, still baffles experts. Filled with strange illustrations of plants, stars, and symbols, it has resisted every attempt at decoding. Some think it a lost scientific text, others believe it an elaborate hoax. The Wow signal is another cosmic mystery. In 1997, astronomers detected a strong, unexplained radio signal from deep space. It lasted just 72 seconds and was never heard again. Decades later, no one has determined its source. Even in modern times, strange coincidences occur. In 2001, a man named Wilmer McLean became a symbolic figure of history repeating itself. The first battle of the American Civil War began in his front yard. And 4 years later, the war of final surrender was signed in his living room. As he put it, the war began in my front yard and ended in my parlor. From mysterious books to uncanny twins, from cosmic signals to eerie repetitions in history, these coincidences remind us that life is full of unexpected patterns. Whether the result of chance or something deeper, they capture our imagination and make us question just how random the world really is.